And now, with more, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is with us. Governor, look, there's a lot of reasons I moved here, and I've been wanting to do it for years, but certain commitments prevented me from doing so. Let's see, better infrastructure, better weather. You actually believe in law and order. You have better schools for less money. You have lower taxes by far, and especially compared to New York City, not where I lived in Long Island. The people are a hell of a lot nicer, especially to me. It was a pretty hostile environment for me walking through the streets of New York City, I got to tell you.
Well, man, Sean, we should make you an ambassador for Florida. That's a Chamber of Commerce presentation right there, and you've only been a resident for 6 months. No, just think about it. Well, one thing we don't have, we don't have double animal style in Florida. In-N-Out has not come this far east, and they may never do. But I also think that with California's current policies, if In-N-Out were just starting right now, they probably wouldn't have been able to succeed like they did back when California was a prosperous state. And you're right, your former state in New York has millions fewer people than Florida now, yet our budget, the budget I signed into law today, actually reduces spending from last year and is less than half of New York's budget. But anyone that's driven in New York roads and Florida roads know we have better infrastructure. We're ranked number one in education, and we've have the lowest per capita tax or debt burden in the country. And I've paid down 36% of our state's total debt from the entire history of Florida. 36% of the taxpayer-supported debt. So we're doing it right. But even as we're reducing spending, Sean, we are using tax dollars prudently to expand infrastructure, because I've got people moving here. We want to get ahead. So we're going to end up accelerating road projects by between 7 and 15 years that were in the pipeline, because we're prudently using resources. We have the most education spending we've ever had, largely driven by our school choice scholarships, which is really important. And we're raising pay for teachers and providing bonuses for law enforcement. So we're doing the things that I think taxpayers expect. We're very prudent with what we're doing, and our state has a AAA credit rating. That's something that the federal government can't match.
Double animal style. If In-N-Out wants to come to Florida, I will invest heavily in them moving here if they'd ever want a partner. I'd be glad to. It would be my honor to. All right,
Sean,
let me move on.
If they decided to come to Florida, they would print money in the state of Florida. It would be so successful. Time. But, you know, I think the company, you know, they like being where they are, and I respect that. But they certainly would do very well in Florida.
I have friends of mine. They have Chicken Salad Chicken out of Tampa, Florida. They have 5, 6 restaurants now. It's killing it. They work there. Now, they're killing themselves because they work really hard, but it's doing phenomenal. And I couldn't be happier. Lindsay and Paul, they're friends of mine. They do great. But here's my next question. The New York Times fact-checked you, didn't they? And they fact-checked you on the issue of whether or not terrorists were crossing the border under Joe Biden's open border policies, unvetted illegal immigrants from our top geopolitical foes. I've mentioned the list of countries over and over. I think they owe you an apology, Governor.
Yeah, I mean, I said this last fall that, and it wasn't even just me spitballing. Biden's own DHS has acknowledged there were hundreds of people on the terror watch list. Sean, you can't have 10 million people come and not have potential terrorists come across the border, especially when we have people from the Middle East. So now we know without a shadow of a doubt that we have ISIS folks who've been identified and apprehended. The New York Times was wrong. The New York Times was pushing forth a narrative. They were running interference for Joe Biden. What I said was correct at the time, and it remains correct today. But I am not going to hold my breath asking for an apology. I think a lot of these corporate media outlets, it's drive-by journalism. They say what they want, and then they just forget about when it's obvious they were wrong.
When you debated Governor Newsom on this program, and we went issue by issue, we went over the issue of crime, we went over the issue of taxes, we went over the issue of spending per capita, education, and results. You were #1 in the country, and you spent far less money than California did. On every single statistic, Florida is outperforming. And this is common in a lot of red states, but Florida is doing particularly well. Why do you think so many people are allowing the government? For example, You get an income tax in California. If you're a couple making $84,000 a year, you're still paying 6.5% income tax out there. Now, you're not paying the full 13.5%, but that's a serious amount of money for a couple, especially with the cost of living out there.
Oh, they absolutely hammer middle-class families and small businesses in California. That's why a lot of them have fled to Florida. It used to never happen that people would really leave California because the weather's so great. They've got all these great natural advantages, but they're now doing that. But I'll tell you this, Sean, in terms of education, K-12, for example, we believe in education. California believes in indoctrination. They are using their schools. The teachers' unions are using the schools to impose a left-wing political agenda on the students. First of all, that's wrong. Second of all, that's not how you have good performance. And I'd also say this. We're ranked #1 in higher education now for public university system, and we have the same philosophy. Universities should fulfill their classic mission of pursuing truth, academic rigor, and preparing students to be citizens of a republic. They should not be indoctrination camps like Columbia University. And when we had these pro-Hamas people at our universities that tried to set up a tent, they were kicked off in 10 minutes. We didn't let the inmates run the asylum. And I think people take notice of that. And I've always had people come up to me who maybe in the past would not have thought Florida for higher education. They say, why go to Columbia and be treated like that when you can go to Florida? We're the Harvard for the unwoke now.
By the way, Governor, if the owners of In-N-Out would be willing to meet with you and me, I will go with you, and I will raise as much money as humanly possible to get them to move to the great state of Florida, because I want to give back to my new home state. I would like to do that, and I would love to have a double-double animal style.
And we are going to deliver this to In-N-Out corporate.
All right. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.